You're ready, Victoria, you can just start recording and we're ready. Oh, we are recording.
Yes, I just started. Yes. You can start, Franchon, if you want.
Oh, Marla actually starts. She's going first.
Oh, I sure will. Thank you, Victoria and Rebecca, for providing translation services. Hello, I'm Marla Barthen. I'm a nurse and board certified patient advocate. I'm a community health worker here in Wilmington and a member of the New Hanover County Resiliency Task Force. Welcome to Flipping the Conversation, and we thank you for your participation in today's program. Funding for this series has been made possible through a grant from North Carolina Families United as part of the North Carolina Trauma Informed Communities Initiative project, coordinated by Duke Center for Child and Family Health. The New Hanover Resiliency Task Force is proud to be one of the 6 organization sites across North Carolina receiving this funding to make our communities more resilient and trauma informed. And we are grateful to Healing Your Almond and the great team assembled for bringing this project to life. For more information about New Hanover Resiliency Task Force, please visit us at www.nhcbouncesback.org. And let me introduce our panelists today. We have Jamie Washington. He is a licensed clinical mental health counselor and addiction specialist who works with active duty service members as a military and family life counselor and also does contract work, moonlighting at the LMV counseling as an outpatient therapist. He is very interested in trauma and supporting clients through this. Suzanne Wortman is a certified nurse midwife who works in advocacy and government affairs. She has worked in sexual and reproductive health care, caring for people of all ages and helping them achieve their best health. In her work, both clinically and politically, she sees the effects of trauma on the mind, body, and community and is committed to trauma-informed work. Brittany Patterson is the co-founder of Invisibility Project, a dance and spoken word performance and training series on race relations in Wilmington. She's also a licensed clinical social worker specialized in trauma-informed child and family therapy and somatic approaches. She currently works as an outpatient therapist at Madewell Center for Wholeness. And we have Victoria Velasco, who you saw early on. She has lived in Wilmington for the last 29 years and is proud to call Wilmington her home. A 2008 UNCW graduate with a bachelor's degree in social work and is currently in her last semester in the Masters of Social Work program at UNCW. Very good for you. Victoria is bilingual, Spanish and English, and has worked in the legal medical field as a Spanish interpreter translator for the last 20 years. With 2 decades of experience in designing and implementing language equality plans for agencies. Currently, Victoria is the owner of Vida Translations and Vida Familia Latina Magazine, a Facebook resource media outlet, which it has the goal to connect first-generation Latino families to resources and celebrate the Latinx community in the Southeast region. Victoria is a certified community resiliency model CRIM teacher who is passionate about advocacy on behalf of vulnerable communities. And finally, we have Franchon Francis. She's the founder of Healing Your Almond, a licensed clinical mental health counselor and a certified trauma practitioner and trainer. Franchon is known for her authentic leadership and engaging speaker. And we actually love her a lot. So Franchon, please explain more about this project and help us get started. Tell us a little bit about it. Are the sessions in person? Are they virtual? I'll let you get going.
Okay, all the things. Well, you guys are currently at the end of phase 1. So phase 1 is where we invite the community to be a part of this journey that we're about to take. Phase 2 is going to be some group. Phase 3 is community presentation, and we're going to have an explanation of that from Brittany a little bit later as well. All of the sessions will be virtual. They will start April 1st at 6:30 p.m. So if you're interested in continuing to participate, You might want to start looking at Thursdays and blocking off your Thursdays. So phase 2 will occur completely virtually via Zoom. The first session will be April 1st, and then it will be every Thursday moving forward until May 20th. And they will start at 6:30 p.m. and they will be for an hour and a half. What's my next question is about belonging, right? Which group you belong in.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've had people ask is for that phase 2, we're going to do some sessions together and some sessions separate. So when I say separate, what I mean is that we're going to separate by ethnicity of however you identify. So we'll have white folks in one group and people of color in another group. And if you're unsure where you should fit, I encourage you to just spend time with yourself making that decision. We're not going to tell you what group you need to be in. We just want people to choose where they feel they fit best. And there will be groups together and groups separate. So you'll get opportunities for both.
And Franchon, what happens if we can't make it to all the sessions?
So we understand that people are busy. We understand that 8 weeks is a pretty big commitment. So we fully expect everybody to probably miss at least one session. But if you feel like you're going to miss much more than that, like if you're getting into 2s and 3s and 4s, we would ask you that maybe you consider participating next time. And we're hoping that this is going to be the first cohort of many. We're hoping to do this many more times. This is the first cohort, and we want everybody there that we can possibly fit. However, it is a time commitment. And one of the things I discovered yesterday that I said, I'm going to try to say it the same way again today, is you can make up learning, but you can't make up growth. So a big part of what we're going to be doing is growing as humans, as individuals. And that's not necessarily something you can make up. So if you miss one, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But if you're going to miss 2 and 3, there's really not a way to catch up from that. It's not like a classroom where you can kind of do the homework. It's not that kind of thing. So we would encourage you to, if you're going to attend, making sure that you can make the majority of them.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Now, is it going to cost anything for folks to participate?
No, there is no cost to participants. As you pointed out at the beginning, this is a grant-funded program that is fully paid for. So people that we want to participate, there's absolutely no cost. We got that covered.
All right. Now, do I have to live in New Hanover County?
Okay, my original answer to this question was yes. But we have done a little bit of flexibility on that as we're moving forward. And what our official answer is we are going to prioritize New Hanover County residents. What that means is that overall we're accepting 40 people into the program, 20 white people and 20 people of color. So if we start getting close to those numbers where they're full and we need to make decisions about maybe not allowing everybody in that wants to participate, we will prioritize New Hanover County residents. However, if there is someone that lives outside of New Hanover County, but for some reason is interested in this program, you are welcome to register for phase 2 and just let us know that in a registration form, and we'll make the decision based on a case-by-case basis. Typically speaking, though, it is just for New Hanover County residents, and we would like to keep it that way.
Do you mind if I pause for a second? Let me just interpret that there is the interpretation option for those who just joined us and didn't know about it. So thank you. Buenas tardes. Si recién se unió a nuestra conversación, agradecemos su participación y quiero darle la opción de que abajo en las opciones está un globito y ese globito tiene la opción de presionar para interpretación si quiere escuchar y participar en español. Muchísimas gracias. Go ahead. I'm done.
Rebeca, si ella está
No, you're
hablando
doing great.
en español y tú te callas, se escucha perfectamente.
Excelente. Gracias.
Great. Well, I guess my next question brings us to our panelists. So Suzanne, can you tell us about what you bring to this work and why you're so passionate about it?
Sure. Thanks, Marla. I'm so happy to be here, you guys. My name is Suzanne Wertman, and I'm, as Marla told you, a certified nurse midwife. So I've got about 22 years of experience in working with women and families and in sexual and reproductive health. So that with that, there goes a lot of teaching and facilitation yesterday. During our session, I had I shared the aha moment I had, feeling a little bit humbled by my fellow colleagues with their therapy experience, and realizing that I'm a facilitation expert as a midwife. I help facilitate birth and facilitate healing, and it was really cool to feel that, and kind of step into my power that way. So I've been here in Wilmington about 15 years. I live with my teenage son, who is a white appearing dude. And for those of you who might be sitting on the fence a little bit with your identity, I am half Lebanese, Middle Eastern, and half Irish and German. So I put myself in the white group because look, I mean, yeah. So, you know, I think when you're thinking about where you're exploring that, you figure out how you appear in life. And then also we realize how superficial all of these definitions are, and why we need to work so intently on curing our historical trauma. I see how it plays out for, you know, in our community, and keeping us in our in segregated in our communities by skin color. And you know, with a teenage son, I want him to not be the typical white guy. I want him to be a caring, loving, accepting individual, recognizing that there are folks that have suffered under our current structure. So that's what brings me to this work. Also, you know, as a healthcare provider, I think health equity, you know, we know that racism kills people, and it's not just like, you know, the overt racism, but it's the stuff that we kind of swim through every day and don't really notice. So I'm here to go on this journey with you, and I'm really excited about what's going to happen next. Thanks.
Thank you. I totally agree with what you said. So thank you and welcome. Jamie, same question to you. What do you bring to this work, and why are you passionate about it?
Okay, so thanks for the question, Marla. Basically, I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor and a clinical addiction specialist, and a lot of these issues come up in my work. And so sometimes you know exactly how to handle situations, and sometimes you need a little bit more self-awareness to kind of figure out where people are coming from, and like the lenses through which people see themselves in the world around them. And so my hope is that, what makes me passionate about it is that just the direction that like these conversations have gone in, like over the course of the past year, just with the global pandemic being something that has had everybody glued to their televisions and all of these things, and people trying to figure out like this new direction I feel like organizations are going in, particularly with diversity, equity, and inclusion being a thing that is like a focal point. And so like with that, you know, obviously you're going to have a lot of different issues that come up, people having different problems that come up in the workplace, people that have problems coming up in like their everyday lives. And these things typically find their ways to the therapy room. And so like when people deal with these kind of things, it's important to kind of like have language around it. So my contribution, I feel like, is to kind of help facilitate conversations and also elevate the language that we've used, and also educate the community about trauma and all these things that are interconnected in that way. I am a LA resident, Leland resident, well, born and raised. I currently live in Hampstead, but I know the area very well. I have a strong ties to this community. I've seen the growth and all of the things that are possible, and I've also seen some things that we can improve on. I think with last year, we saw a lot of major changes happening to like the landscape with the removal of certain statues, and then, you know, all of these things kind of like that generate conversation and have people feel in particular ways. So not quite sure if I fully answered the question, but like I am passionate about helping people to kind of find language and work on the things that they feel they need to work on through this process.
Oh, no, I absolutely appreciate talking about that trauma lens and all those different issues that kind of come in on that one. So no, that was actually perfect. So I'm sure we'll have more to follow on that. Victoria, this is your first session, so I'm very excited to hear from you about what you think you bring to this work and why you're so passionate.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to thank Franchon for the invitation and for, organizing this event. I think it's very much needed because of the event, because of COVID and what COVID has highlighted in reference to access to services and equity and all of the issues that affect us who, that had been there for so long. But, COVID, I think, brought them up and highlighted them. And so, but what I bring to the table is, my perspective. I am an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 15 years old. I've been living in Wilmington for almost 29 years. And so I just, I bring this perspective of a newcomer and also, of even trying to build vocabulary for all these experiences that I've had and that never really had, before going to school to social work, I never really had anybody to talk about these issues with. There are a lot of messages I've received as a new immigrant from the dominant culture that sometimes I feel are stereotypes and they are not accurate, but they are out there and there is nowhere to really clear it, clarify it or talk about it. Sometimes also not just my experiences, but how I am perceived, sometimes as a competition or someone, even our name, sometimes, people calling us illegal aliens or, so as outsiders. And so there is no place to process any of these experiences or perceptions or stereotypes or questions. And so I'm here because I want to, just talk about it. And as a Latino woman, I also realized that many Latinos don't have this opportunity, but I know our children at schools have these conversations, they have experiences, and then they have nobody to come home to and talk about it because we don't have that vocabulary. We haven't built the support that we need to in order to, to have these conversations. And so anyway, that's what I'm hoping I'm bringing to the table. Thank you.
I do think you bring that to the table. I'm very excited to see how this plays out. So welcome. And my last panelist would be Brittany. Well, what do you think that you, what do you bring to the work and why are you so passionate about it?
So when I think about what I bring to the work, I think about lived experience and my experience with racism and equity work. And so it's kind of have these little touch points in my life, right? It starts with my upbringing, and I grew up raised by two parents who respectively grew up in racist homes and made a commitment not to pass that along to me, but they only made that commitment based on the language they used in my house. And so all of their attitudes, all their ideologies that they were raised with still was very present. And so those mixed messages really put me in a position of questioning things. And then I went to social work school in 2006 and unpacked all of that, discarded some things, repacked things. I talk about how it sort of, dismantled my character a little bit and rebuilt me. And then it set me on a path to really being passionate about these things and continuing that internal work and then finding ways to help other people do that internal work as well. And so that eventually led me to collaborate with a dear friend of mine, Kalisa Ray Thompson, who is a poet And I had a dance and choreography background. And so we got together and created this thing called the Invisibility Project, which is a dance and spoken word performance based on race relations in Wilmington in the wake of 1898. And so through that, I had, it started out as a dance performance, as just a performance endeavor, and became a space where real authentic relationship across race lines were developed and maintained. And it's been one of the great blessings in my life. I'm so glad that I did it. And so my passion for this work is really about helping the greater community have that same experience. And so as Franchon mentioned earlier, as we move through this project and through this programming, our hope is that by phase 3, where the focus really is about presenting to the greater community the growth that has happened, we want people to really stretch themselves and use as many parts of themselves as they're comfortable, and be as creative as possible. And so in some ways, for me, that's what the Invisibility Project turned out to be, was me drawing out my dance and choreography skills and kind of aligning it with the social justice piece that I had become as a social worker. And so what I'm going to do as we lead into the question and answer period of today is just show a little snippet, about a minute and 15 seconds of the Invisibility Project to give people a sense of kind of what's possible, right? I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, well, I'm not a dancer, I couldn't possibly do that, or I couldn't, to just kind of see that this is an example of how people stretched themselves and really delved into these concepts physically, and that might be something that you consider in that phase 3 work. So what you're about to see is a small snippet of a duet that was performed by Kyla Laurent and Amanda Wolf. And the way it was created was I gave the cast a prompt to make movement based on how they felt living in Wilmington today. And the choreography you're going to see is Kyla's solo that she created via that prompt. And then we sort of framed a duet around it, adding Amanda and adding that kind of depiction. So I'm going to let you all just experience that, and then we can kind of go from there. So I'm going to share my screen.
We can't see it. Yeah, it's still loading. The audio is going, but the video is not.
Okay, well, let me figure out how to fix that.
Oh, there you go. Now I've got the screen on there if you want to just back up. Brittany.
Might have sat idle for a little too long.
Brittany.
Yes.
You've been lagging the whole time you've been talking, your video. So what I can do is I can share my screen and share Vimeo. Oh, if somebody makes me a co-host, you just need to tell me what the minute is to start.
It's at 7:45.
Okay.
Do you need me to email you quickly that particular link, or do you have that one? I'll email you this particular.
I have the
link.
whole thing. Yeah, no, thanks.
Brittany,
I'm gonna send you this one.
Bear
Brittany,
with us, everybody.
Yes,
Technology.
yes. Brittany, if you share, please. That way I can make Susanna host. Thank you.
Gotcha. Well, did it work? No, it's not. Sorry, guys. I'm at
No
home
worries.
instead of at my office, and so the internet may be.
Okay, I got it.
So while we're waiting on that link, Brittany, can you unshare your screen or stop screen share?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's like acting up. I don't know why.
It's cloudy down here where I'm at, and I always seem to have a little bit more internet problems when it's cloudy. Don't know why.
Suzanne, did that come through?
It sure did. So you said 7:45.
Yeah, 7:45 to 9 minutes is where I usually stop it.
Okay.
And just, I may have to
Okay, here we go. Everybody's being so patient. Thank you so much. Okay. Everyone can see my screen okay? Can I get a thumbs up from anybody?
You might want to
The British screen.
enlarge it.
Weird, yeah. There we go.
Is that good?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're not going to hear it, but that's okay. There we go. Well, thanks for hanging in, everybody. I think that even though we had a little technical issues in trying to match the audio with the video, it's still a beautiful and expressive clip. So thank you for sharing it. My question is to Brittany. Who decides what medium the group uses to make the public presentation in phase 3?
So I think we may have lost Brittany because we're having connection issues, and my other phone is ringing, but I'm not going to answer it. So it might be Brittany. I'm far away from my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that question.
Thanks.
So we wanted to show you a small portion of the Invisibility Project so that you can get an idea of what the possibilities could be. It definitely is not what you have to do. what we do in phase 3, that community presentation part that we talk about, is completely up to you. So if you want to do spoken word, if you want to do visual art, if you want to do movement, whatever it is that you want to do is completely your option. We just wanted to show you an option of just how creative we can get with this project.
Okay, now, does everyone have to participate in that final presentation? Like, what if they have public speaking concerns or a little bit of stage fright?
That is a great question. If you do have any of those issues, we still want you to participate, but how you participate is up to you. So you could participate with like a blank picture with your name, or you can just have a picture with you standing there, or you could make a visual art representation and you yourself are not necessarily performing, but your art is present in the presentation. So we, one of the things, and I might be jumping ahead, but one of the things we talk about is we want you to stretch, but we don't want you to break. So like, we want to push you a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but not to the point where you're feeling totally uncomfortable to where you can't function. Like, there's uncomfortable and there's anxiety, and then there's unsafe and panic. We're not looking for unsafe and panic. We're looking for some uncomfortability, but it's a workable kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll get into it a little bit more. I do have a few questions for our panelists, and then we'll continue to take questions from our audience. So you can put those into the chat, and we'll continue to moderate those. So Suzanne, I know you have this this concept, this statement where you say, if we're not uncomfortable, then we aren't learning. So when we're talking about phase 2, if we're uncomfortable, is there a signal that you can use to alert your facilitator? And is there a facilitator or someone that will be available to talk with a participant if they are having some difficulties?
Thanks, Marla. And I do actually want to back up and give Brittany a chance to just wrap up her thoughts and talk about vulnerability. Like, here you guys see it in action. It's not always going to be smooth. It's not always going to be perfect, but we're going to do our best and put it out there. Brittany, I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about the dancers and how they were feeling, since we kind of got off track with the technical difficulties.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I think Marla even touched on it, where we talk about how encouraging people to consider what you're feeling in that moment, and whether it is a trigger to some kind of traumatic experience for you, or if it is just discomfort. Because discomfort, we are going to challenge you to move through and to sit with, and we are going to create a really safe space to support you in that. And that's really you know, what in the Invisibility Project, what we did was we all committed to that. We kind of went in going, we know that we're probably going to hurt each other's feelings several times, not even just once, right? And that we are going to be uncomfortable because these conversations are uncomfortable, and we are signing up for that and moving through that and working through that. And so in some ways, this project is similar in that we're going to ask people to stretch themselves, but not trigger you, right? And if I can use this opportunity as an example, right? One of the reasons that we are really trying to hone in on that too is because due to the pandemic, we are doing this virtually. So if you are susceptible to being triggered to the point where you're so dysregulated, so activated that you can't kind of be present, then we're going to ask you to consider that maybe this isn't the right time to do this. Because if something like just happened and everything glitches and suddenly you can't see or hear us, right, then we can't support you. We can't help you. You know, there's no way, there's some things we just can't do over screen that can be done in person. So we're going to kind of help ask people to really be considerate of that.
And with
Very
that,
good.
we will have, resources available for folks if the need arises. And, I want to just riff a little bit off of what Brittany's saying and say that, a lot of The conversations around race and racism up to this point have kind of have in my estimation fallen a little bit short because we avoid what's painful to us. It's just in our nature to do that. However, you know, we are going to encourage that happening, and we know, because we know through that, that's when transformation happens. And so we're going to have to get real. We're going to have to get uncomfortable, but that's how we're going to be able to fit into a new model, a model that serves Wilmington much better than our current model.
Thank you for adding that. It kind of leads me right into Jamie and just asking, where do you see this work going after May of this year? I mean, this is kind of what Suzanne is saying. Where do you see it?
Yeah, well, so my hope is, Marla, that people will find like their own individual motivation and kind of keep the baton going and keep the torch burning forward. Because I think a lot of times when we have these conversations, the mentality is that we'll talk about it for a second and then like we'll just kind of like leave it on the shelf. But with the direction that things are going in with, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion in different organizations, and them making those things a priority, the conversation hopefully will stay alive in that way. And so people will find, again, their own, their own motivation to continue the work. As a therapist, that's encouraging to me because like sometimes we can wear the mantle of like what the outcome is going to look like. And that can be kind of distressing. So for a self-care thing that I like to do as a therapist is take some of that weight off of my shoulders and understand that like sometimes the seed has to be planted, but it's not my job to watch it grow. So not that I'm not concerned about it growing. I definitely care about it growing, but it just kind of encourages me to trust the process and that understand that everybody is on their own journey and people will have to grow and be shaped and adjust in their own time. And that is encouragement to me that this, you know, this work will continue and conversations will continue.
Yep, very good. Very good. Well, I wanted to ask then, Franchon, well, actually, let me go to Brittany again, if Brittany's still there. Especially in phase 2, is what a participant says, is it going to be confidential? They have some security in that?
Yes, so we are committed to creating a safe space for these difficult conversations. And so we are going to ask people that they keep what is discussed in those groups in the group and not share it outside of the programming. It is not therapy, so it's not going to have that kind of containment space in that sense. But we are asking people to kind of think about it the way that AA and other anonymous groups are structured, in the sense that it's pretty understood, even in the name anonymous, right, that you don't share what has come out of those support groups and that support group culture. And so we're going to kind of draw on that for this programming. So we want people to feel comfortable processing the information in between sessions and talking about what they're learning, but not to share what has been said by other people in the group outside of that.
Okay, good. Well, I know, Franchon, earlier you kind of touched on how you see the groups being separated at certain points, but can you talk about who you think or you identify are folks that you're hoping to bring into groups? So what's that look like?
Thank you. I don't know if those of you who noticed, I'm over here crying. So I just want to take a moment and say, I love this team so much. And thank you guys so much for showing up in this space. This week has been rough, trying to fill the seats and trying to get people to come, and also doing what I do for a living. It's just been a rough week. So I'm sitting here listening to this wonderful insight and you guys gently challenging people. And I'm just really excited. So I'm role modeling vulnerability and saying thank you so much to the Healing Your Alma team, because you guys are like amazing. And this is the first time I've gotten to see all of you on my screen in public at the same time. And it just brings me joy. So I'm going to try to pull it together now, but I just wanted to take a moment and do that and say thank you guys so much for showing up, because this is not easy. And I just, I'm happy. Okay, so who do
You feel your moment.
Okay, so who do we want to show up? We want everybody to show up. We want the people that have been in this work for a long time and the people that think they got it, because nobody has it. As Jamie just said, like, we're constantly reminding each other one day at a time, and it's not all on you. Jamie is constantly calling me out on self-care. He's like, Franton, the solution is not picking up another project. The solution is probably saying no to the next project. So we want the people that have been in this, but we also really want some new, fresh faces. And that both is in people of color and white people. We want people that maybe this is your first event, like maybe today coming to this is your first time learning about this work and thinking, do I want to be involved? Do I not want to be involved? We want those people too. So we really want a solid mix and true diversity, not just in terms of people of color and white people, but also across different ages, across different professionals, like all the different ways, because that really helps us get a true picture of what's happening in New Hanover County from multiple perspectives, and we can start moving into some action. So one of the things my team members have said is we want to stretch you to have, be out of your comfort zone. And also that phase 3 is really about moving into action and really letting people know both within New Hanover County and outside of New Hanover County what it is that we need. So we're hoping for everybody a nice little mix.
All right, well, you did very well. I appreciate that. And I'm gonna also probably lean on Jamie sometimes for the keep everything simple and don't overload your plate and all those kinds of things. I need to hear that too. So I'm with you on that one. All right, there are probably questions in there that I can't translate. So I'm gonna just call on my friend Victoria to read some of those questions, or let me know what's in the chat and see if we can get those questions answered.
Yeah, I do not see any questions yet. It's just me writing about, you can write about your questions in Spanish. But si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, la quiere hacer con confianza, puede hacerla o puede escribirla en el chat.
Okay, well,
the one question we did have was one person asked, they said that they're not going to be available for the April and May phase 2 sessions. So when will the next ones be? And a teammate answered it, Suzanne answered, we don't know yet when the next sessions will happen for sure. We're hoping this fall. And that's absolutely accurate. We're hoping that this is the first cohort. This is not something that we're going to continuously do throughout a year, but we do want to eventually get a cycle where, like, maybe every spring and every fall we're doing a cohort. So as of now, we don't know because we don't have funding for the next project. This project is fully funded, but the next project is not yet. So we will keep you in mind and keep all of you posted. But as of now, we don't have a start date for the next cohort.
Okay. Now, do you also have a limit on the participations for this cohort that we're talking about now for the spring?
Yes. So what we're looking at right now, when we originally started, was a total of 40 people. So there will be 20 seats for people of color and 20 seats for white people. However, what we've talked about is we've added another facilitator. So we originally started with 4 and now we have 5 facilitators. So we may do like an overflow group. We may break those groups down a little bit more, and instead of just simply people of color and white people. We're not entirely sure. It's going to be dependent upon the people that register for phase 2. I will let you know that we're probably not going to push the issue much over 40, simply because then we become more focused on numbers. It's harder to be vulnerable when there's so many people in the room, even if it's virtual. So our goal is for this to be impactful. Our goal is for this to be something different than what is already being done. And in order to do that, we have to limit the amount of participants we can have.
Okay. All right. Now I know that we're recording these sessions and we've recorded our other sessions. So I know we'll be playing those again. So if you didn't attend these sessions, Is there still room for you to get this information and sign up?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yes, you do not. So participation or attendance in phase one, which is the information session, is not required to register for phase two. We are going to post, I just talked to my web developer today. I tried to do it myself yesterday. That did not work out. My web developer said that he will start working on it at 7 o'clock tonight. So by the end of tonight, we will have the registration form and the recordings posted. So we would encourage everybody to watch at least one of the information sessions before signing up for phase two, but it's not required.
Okay. All right. Well, we're kind of getting closer to our time. We always like to hold this to about an hour. Is there any other questions that I'm missing, or any other points from our panelists that you guys want to touch on that I may have missed?
I just wanted to give a shout out to Lauren Villar of LMV Counseling. She's the owner. And we have been working together for the past few years. She is on the line today. I'm happy to see her here. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Lauren was on.
Hi,
Yeah.
Lauren. Thanks for coming.
I love some Lauren. That's great.
Victoria, do we have any questions from the Spanish speaking room?
I do not see one. No, we do not.
Okay.
I just wanted to
Well,
check.
there's still room for that. So if there are questions, they certainly could. But how do you want them to reach out, Franchon? Is that
Well,
through
we
you
have
or through Victoria?
So we have one in the chat. Is it possible to take a moment to outline the project and the 3 phases of it? Absolutely. So phase one, thank you. It's a good question. Phase one is community invitation. So we scheduled these 3 information sessions to personally take the time to invite as many participants as we can. And that's ending technically today, but we will continue to push out the recordings and continue to encourage people to watch them. Phase 2 will officially begin April 1st on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. And that will continue every Thursday from April 1st to May 20th, 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Sessions will be an hour and a half. And that will be phase 2, which will focus on groups being together, groups being separate. We can't be really specific about the content of those groups because it's largely going to depend on the participants. So depending on who signs up, those individuals will kind of give the information to their facilitators about what it is that they need. And then facilitators will combine that with their knowledge and experience and then facilitate those groups. Towards the end of phase 2, which will be May, basically the last couple of weeks in May, we will start planning for phase 3. Phase 3 is community presentations, which will be recorded. So I just want to point out phase 2 will not be recorded unless for some reason the participants want to record something. That will be up to you guys, but we as facilitators do not plan on recording. Phase 3 is basically we want to share our learning with the community. So we're going to come back together as that large group, so potentially 40 of us, and we're going to have conversations about what did we learn. Most important question I'm going to ask, just full transparency, is what do you need? So when we get to the end of phase 2, I'm going to say to all participants, now that you've been through this, what do you need? What do you need from your county? What do you need from your state? Like, what is it that we need in order to work through some of the really ridiculousness that's happening in Wilmington? So I'm going to pressure everybody to answer that question from your perspective, not from my team's perspective, but from your perspective. And then we're going to put that together in a video and record those towards the end of May, beginning of June. And then the final project, so phase 3 has to be completed by mid-June because those are the grant requirements. So we absolutely will be held to a tighter schedule. We do not have those dates determined yet because it's going to depend on the participants. Due to COVID and safety reasons and space reasons, we are likely not going to get together physically as 40 people, but we may get together in small groups to do some of that recording in late May, early June. Or we may just do it all virtually. I'm not really sure. We do have a media budget, so we do have the ability to record in person if people feel comfortable doing so. I think I answered all the phase questions. Hopefully I'm getting a head nod. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, you did. A couple follow-ups though. The final project, is that going to be, are we going to put that out through the Resiliency Task Force then? When you say it's going to be public, is that something that we're planning with them? or is it
Yeah,
something
so
separate?
the final project, the final footage is a video, and that video will technically be owned by Healing Your Almond, but it will be available to everybody. So the New Hanover County Resiliency Task Force will be putting it out on their website, I'm guessing. They will be putting it out on their listserv. Healing Your Almond will definitely have it on our website and on our listserv and our YouTube channel. And then we also will be sending it to Duke. So that's another reason why I think it's so important that we talk about what we need, because Duke has the ability to provide New Hanover County with further funding. And we want to make sure that that funding is going towards things that make sense and that are not just made by certain people in certain rooms making certain decisions. We're trying to move away from that and get more of a broader voice of everybody, not just a couple certain people. So the video will be available. Like, we're going to go crazy with the video. Like, we want it everywhere, right? We want like national attention. We want local attention. We want everybody to kind of see what we came up with and what we learned.
Thank you for including that's we're looking at future funding and we want to hear from individual voices and giving folks the opportunity to help be in the room for those decision makers that look at funding for our area. So that's great. My last question on that follow-up is there a deadline for us to sign up for phase 2? Do you have that already, and where do we sign up?
That is a great question, and I want to see if I have it from memory. And I do, I think. We decided on the 30th, right, team? March 30th? Yeah, I do believe it's, yeah, I'm getting some head nods. Okay, so it's March 30th. And I just put the link to register because I happen to have it. It got finalized today. So the Google Forms is in the chat box. And then also all this information is always housed at healingyouromen.com/upcoming. So everything for this event will be there. So that's healingyouromen.com/upcoming. That will, everything that you need, all the information will always be housed there. But honestly, you guys get to know things usually first, because first I got to talk to my team. I have to get everything approved. It's like a whole process. And then the web developer posts it. So sometimes that cycle takes about 48 hours. So yes, the deadline is March 30th. The form to fill out to participate in phase 2 is currently in the chat box, but will also be available on our website.
Wonderful.
And I put the link to the website is also in the chat box if you want to click or copy it.
Yes, thank you, Suzanne.
You guys are great. All right, I want to put a last call out for questions if anybody has anything to wrap us up. I think we're good. Okay. Well, I found a lot of information on there. So I just want to say that being part of the New Hanover County Resiliency Task Force and then being on the steering committee for our CLEAR Facebook group, which is the communities linking and to against racism. So I actually am very happy that this Healing Your Almond piece came together and the grant came together. So it has been my absolute pleasure to be part of this and help moderate and bring this to life and to help you guys get there and to help us get there. So you always have all of our support and anything that we can do to help. So I just want to thank all of our panelists today and then also all of our participants today for attending. If anybody has any last remarks or if Franchon would like to close us out, I'm open to that.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable and cry on a recording that is now going to be pushed out to a couple hundred people. Seriously though, it's a Saturday and I know you all could be doing a lot of different things with your time. So thank you so much for dedicating that time, and please follow Healing Your Almond and make sure you stay up connected with us, because we will always be doing more projects like this.
Great. Victoria, do you want to send us out?
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone. And Franchon, again, really, I'm so thankful for this event. And gracias a todos por haber participado esta tarde. Yo sé que es sábado y tienen otras cosas mejores que hacer, pero gracias por estar acá. Nos vemos entonces. Puse más información aquí en el chat por si la necesitan. That's it.
Thank you all. Happy Saturday.
Yay, have a good day. Hopefully I'll see you all.
Gracias, Rebecca.
You want to, yep, you want to stay on for a second?
Sí,
Franton,
estuvo
just
muy
at the end?
interesante ver cómo funciona, ¿eh? Me sirvió mucho lo de, bueno, yo no tenía idea de lo de qué se trataba eso, dije, ay, me invitó Vicky, pues a ver qué es, ¿no? Ha de ser algo interesante. Entonces estoy viendo esto y en realidad es, em,
Victoria, you want to stop recording?
no,
Yes.
no porque es muy bajito, o sea, escuchas que están hablando, pero a menos